Hi everyone, so we're going to have a look at finding the equation of a line given this time 2 points that we know the line goes through. Now before I do that, I want to quickly remind you of something that we did about a week ago on finding the gradient between these 2 points. Now when you find the gradient, a lot of you got the idea that you're doing one coordinate take away the other. Something that you are doing is mixing up the order, so you either have to start on both the numbers in this first coordinate and then take away these ones, or you start on this coordinate and take away these ones. Now it doesn't matter which one you decide, but once you've decided, you've got to stick to it. Okay, so I always start with the second one and take away the first one, which would mean that I also need to do the 2 take away the -4. I can't then do -4 take away 2, okay, because that would be mixing up the orders. So likewise, if you decide to start on this one and do 5 take away 10, you then have got to do -4 take away 2. You've got to keep it in the same order. So to find the gradient of the line, just a reminder as well, some of you mixed it up last week as well, where you put the x's on the top and the y's on the bottom. So it's these ones that we do first. They go on the top. And like I said, I'm going to do the second one, take away the first one. I always just do that, I don't know why. So 10 take away 5 for the top, which means I have to start on the 2. Because I started on the 10 last time, I've got to start on the 2 rather than the -4. So it would be 2 take away -4. So 10 take away 5 is nice and easy, 5. And then remember 2 minus is like a plus, so it's like 2 plus 4, which is 6. So my gradient would be 5 over 6. So the reason we're kind of revising that is to find the equation of a line. Remember, you need to know 2 things. You need to know the gradient of the line, and you need to know the point that it goes through. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, if we haven't been given the gradient, the first thing that we have to do is actually work out what the gradient is. And then after that, it's exactly the same as what we were doing in the last video. So it's going to be the gradient of this line. So again, I'm always going to start on this one. So it's 10 take away the 5. That's going to go on the top. So 10 take away 5. And now I must start with the 4 because I've started with the 10 here. So it'll be 4 take away 2. So my gradient would be 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 2 is 2. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that as a fraction. We know how to deal with that because that's what we were doing yesterday. So the gradient is 5 over 2, keep it as a fraction rather than change it into a decimal. So we now know the gradient, and we know that the line goes through either of these points. So it doesn't matter which point you want to pick to put into the formula. I usually check the coordinates and just think, does one look particularly nicer than the other? So sometimes you might have one with negatives in that you want to avoid. These don't have any negatives, but this one's got smaller numbers in, so I'm going to use the coordinate 2, 5. So I could have used this one, but I've decided to go for 2, 5. So once you've got your gradient and you know the point that it goes through, you've got to think, right, well, how am I now going to get the equation of the line? And that would be using the y minus y1 formula. So again, I'm just going to play this once. Oh, I say that, I haven't got it ready. Oh, maybe I'll wait for it for you. Let down. Hang on, I don't want to let you down. I'm going to play it once. I'm determined to play it once.
Hey everyone, it's Mr. White Smoke over the line.
There we go.
You can write an equation for that line. This is how you do it. Point slope form. Go y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I say y.
Okay, so as soon as you get the gradient and a point that it goes through, that is what you've got to think of, and that is what you've got to use. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our gradient is 5 over 2, that's our m, and this is our x1, y1. So now it's just exactly the same as what you've done before. So it's going to be y minus the 5 equals 5 over 2 x minus x1, which is 2. So remember, to get rid of the fraction, I'm going to times by 2. So I'd get 2y take away 10, and that would leave me, that just gets rid of the 2, doesn't it? And I'm left with 5 brackets x minus 2. So after that, I would get 2y minus 10 equals, and expand your brackets, 5x minus 10. And now the last step would be to get rid of this minus 10. Now remember, you need to do the opposite thing to get rid of that. So if it's saying minus 10, we're going to need to add 10 to the other side. So this side will just become now 2y. And if I add 10 to minus 10, I actually happen to get back to 0. So that would just become 0, and I would just get 2y equals 5x. So that would be my final answer for that one. But the next one then, so these are all now exactly the same, just with a few negatives thrown in. So we've got, again, to find the equation of a line given these 2 points that it goes through. So the first thing is to think equation of a line, we need the gradient and a point it goes through. We've got some points it goes through, so that's fine, but we need the gradient. So that's the first thing you need to work out. So it's going to be, again, start on this one, take away this one. So it'd be 6, take away 4, over, and then it's going to be 0, take away minus 2. So 6 take away 4 is 2, and remember 0 minus minus makes it plus, so that becomes 2. So 2 over 2, just something to point out as well, which is something I've noticed some of you do, is leave it like that, but actually that means 2 divided by 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we've actually got a much nicer gradient on this one of just 1. So now I pick a point that it goes through. So again, well, which one looks the nicest? Well, that's got negatives in, so this time I'm going to go for this coordinate, just because I think it's nicer that it's all positive. So that's going to be my x1, and that's going to be my y1. So I'm going to do, gradient is 1, that's my m. Here's my x1, y1. So what am I going to use? I won't play the song, don't worry. So it'll be y minus y1, so y minus 6 equals m, which is 1, brackets x minus, and then it's just 0, isn't it? So this time there's no fraction to get rid of, which is nice, so we can just times out our brackets. So 1 times x is just x, or you can put 1x, and 1 times 0 is nothing. And now I would just get rid of that minus 6 by doing the opposite, which is to add 6, so y equals x plus 6. Right, the final one, so again, first thing that you need to work out is the gradient. So that's going to be 7 minus minus 1 over, and I remember again I need to start with the 1 because I started on the 7 last time, I didn't start on the minus 1. So I'm going to start on the 1 minus minus 3. So 7 minus minus 1 is 8. 1 take away negative 3 is 4. So I've got 8 divided by 4. That one I can work out, which is 2. So you'll notice that on that first one, 5 divided by 2, you can't work that out. So that's why we left that one as a fraction. Okay, but if you can work it out, then do. So the gradient is 2. Again, pick a point. Well, this one looks nicer because there's no negatives again. So that's going to be my x1, and that one is going to be my y1. So it's going to be y take away y1, which is 7, equals 2, brackets x minus x1, which is 1. So again, no fraction to get rid of, so I can just times up my bracket. So I'm going to get 2x, and then 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. And final step is to get rid of that minus 7. Well, the opposite of minus 7 is to plus 7. So I would then get 2x, and minus 2 plus 7 gets you to positive 5, so it would be plus 5 on the end. So that would be the equation of the line.